Hi, I'm Professor Kirill Alexandrov. I am a co-founder and chief scientific officer of Molecular Warehouse. In the following short video, I will explain the technology that Molecular Warehouse is based on.
So the biosensor technology that Molecular Warehouse is commercializing is based on an enzyme called glucose dehydrogenase. This enzyme takes glucose molecule and converts it into a gluconolactone. As a byproduct, it generates an electron, then can be captured by simple electronic devices. And this forms the core of glucometer technology that is pervasive and ubiquitous and commoditized. So we applied protein engineering to convert glucose dehydrogenase into a molecular switch. So for that, we took advantage of a protein called calmodulin that undergoes large conformational transition when it interacts with the peptide. It goes from an extended open into a closed conformation. And using protein engineering, we incorporated this regulatory domain into the glucose dehydrogenase. So we created what is called a chimera protein, which is in its basic state inactive. And that is obviously a cartoon. And here on the right hand is the much more realistic representation of the molecule with glucose dehydrogenase being in blue and the regulatory calmodulin domain being in white. So if you expose this molecule to calmodulin binding peptide, it induces a conformational change in calmodulin and by extension in glucose dehydrogenase, returning it into an active state. And at this stage, it starts processing glucose and generate electrons that can be then measured. So to an extent, we created something like a molecular transistor or organic transistor where the peptide gates the ability of the this module to generate current. And as with transistors, we can build these molecules into a higher order signaling systems. And so this is the way how we did it. So this is the basic switch molecule. And we engineered a ligand, a calmodulin binding peptide, to have low affinity. So by itself, it's unable to activate the glucose dehydrogenase activity and no current is produced. But then we fused both the peptide and the molecular switch to what is called binding domains, protein entities that are capable to recognize a particular analyte. So when this analyte is present, it will drive binding to these two binding molecules together, and by extension will drag the activating peptide towards the switch molecule, and that will then lodge into the active site of calmodulin and result in activation. So what you have an active complex, which is now bound to analyte, and it can produce electrons proportionate to the number of the molecules of the analyte that are present in solution. So one of the core advantages of the system is modularity. So you can actually swap the binding domains in and out, and that will change the specificity of biosensor from one molecule to another. So for instance, you can remove those binding domains and put in new ones that recognize this pink diamond. And therefore, once you assemble a system, you get a pink diamond biosensor. So this technology is really was the core of Molecular Warehouse development. We have a number of other architectures that are designed for particular purposes, but this is something that we are now actively trialing and manufacturing and building applications on. Thank you for your attention.